So we're a boutique private mortgage lender that offers short-term financing for the Alberta real estate market. So we work with entrepreneurs, business owners, real estate investors, and consumers that don't quite fit into the traditional bank model.
But when we can help somebody who's in a challenged financial position, it gives a lot of satisfaction.
So we go well outside of the parameters of the mortgage financing that we provide to them and really look at, what are the circumstances that are preventing someone from being successful. So that's something that we've been doing for the last 40 years at Calvert.
I'm just amazed at how much we've grown. When Dean started in this business, I believe that we were managing mortgages around maybe $3 million, $5 million. Now we're managing assets of $45 million. Dean, who's the president, Everett stayed on as the chairman of the board and the chief executive officer. And I'm in partnership with my brother as the vice president. And so my brother and I together, we run a company. We're 10 people all together.
So my father's transition strategy from the beginning with working with us is to make sure that, he created an environment that allowed my brother and I to be very engaged with each other and work more in a partnership.
Several years ago, we had a new bill by the federal government come in that changed the tax regime.
So one thing my brother and I did is we gathered the whole industry to try to advocate on our industry's behalf.
And it resulted in us being able to present to the Federal Finance Committee at Parliament on the issue and how we believed it affected us and our industry. And we also had the opportunity of presenting the same arguments to the Senate.
And it was really, really transforming for me to see my brother speak in front of Parliament on behalf of our whole industry.
Yvette and I were living in Edmonton, and two gentlemen invited us to start the business in Calgary.
And they packed up the station wagon and moved to Calgary in 1975 to start this business. Dean and I would tag along on some of his business. My mom would joke that we rarely went on a family vacation where there wasn't a property somewhere on the way that we weren't going to stop and have a look at.
What I do remember is the fact that he always had a file open with him. As soon as dinner was done, a file was opened up on his desk. If we were sitting in front of the TV, he would open up a file on his desk. So he always had something to work on and something to do. It was good to see in the fact that we always knew how hard he was working and how much he was doing to help the family. And there was always that sense of, focus that he had with how he did things. When I was young, I always had a passion and an interest in entrepreneurism and business. Someone asked me who my two favorite people were growing up. It was my father and Alex P. Keaton from Family Ties. So I was all about business and economy, and that kind of stuff just really got me excited. But really had no intentions of joining my father in his business.
Dean finished University of Calgary, and he got a couple of offers from banks to work for banks.
Sat down with my father and said, I got this one and this one and this one. What job should I take? I'd love your advice.
I said, Dean, what does your gut say you want to do? And he said, I want to be an entrepreneur. I said, well, you can't become an entrepreneur at the bank.
And he says, well, why don't you run my business for 1 year? The rule is you can't leave, you can't quit. You have to stick it out for a full year. And if at the end of the year you don't like it, then you can go off and try something else. And honestly, it was the worst year of my life. And the funny thing happened. Close to the end of that year, I started to develop an understanding of what I liked about it, what I didn't like about it, how I was going to change the business, what I would do differently. And that passion just continued to grow and ignite, and I couldn't imagine doing anything else than what I'm doing right now.
A couple of years after that, Dale was graduating from a communications degree.
I'm out looking for a job. They're running the business from what was Dean and I's home at the time.
And my father sat down with me and said, look, I made the offer for you to join the business, and I'd like to make the same offer to your brother. And I said, yeah, that'd be great.
We approached Dale and said, Dale, would you like to be in the business as well? And he said, I don't think so.
And so they broke me down, and I decided to give it a try. So I started in January of 2001.
I have two major principles that I have preached as much as I could to my sons. I said, live where you want to live, it's a happy place. Work where you want to work, it's a happy place, and you likely are going to be happy.
Well, you know, when you own a family business, you really have to work twice as hard as anybody else also to keep your family together, right?
We have a high involvement of family in the business, and we extend that to our other employees and to our clients and to our investors. We view a lot of people as family.
My dad's a quiet person insofar as he isn't one to give you lessons. He's not going to put it in a package and hand it to you and say, this is what life's about. But he gives you those lessons mostly through the way he acts.
They truly care in a way that they put others first. They're others-centered, and they lead with thinking about how they can serve others. With their foundation, they are like a lot of things. They're very humble, and they're helping these families that are in need.
We're connected with social workers, mostly in the Calgary community, who know about us, who can call on us when they've got a situation where a family has some emergency needs that they can't get fulfilled at other agencies.
You know, I think my father's greatest legacy from my perspective is the transition of values that he's been able to instill in both my brother and I. Really, who my brother and I aspire to be is to follow in his footsteps, to really being engaged in the community and offering a service and a product to the community that does help improve people's lives.
I think we are really blessed with a founder that was able to let go and able to give us this business the way, knowing that we would treat it the same way he has.